What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm your co-host Donovan Quick, and today we're going to be going over the Dolphins' needs that they can address throughout the entire NFL draft. I also have a summary of some of the draft picks that have been mocked to us throughout the offseason. Shout out to Finsider.com for this information, particularly Kevin Noggle, so shout out to you. I will be putting the link in the description below, so if you guys want to check out the summary yourselves, go ahead and knock yourselves out. I will say that it is mostly like 4 or 5 guys that are just repeated over and over and over again. There's a list of like 40 something mock drafts throughout this entire thing. With that being said, obviously we have some major needs to address. I can list them from highest priority to lowest priority, and that's what I'm going to do. Highest priority, we need defensive line. Doesn't matter if it's interior or edge, we need defensive line. We lost Christian Wilkins. We're going to be starting out this year without both Chubb and Phillips. So that's going to hurt us a lot on the defensive side of the ball, losing 3 starters that we had from last year. Offensively, we need offensive line, particularly interior. Now, a lot of the mock drafts, and I'll get to who we are mocked with in a second, but I feel like we need to address the interior, particularly because we're pretty set at tackle, in my opinion, for this year at least. After this year, I could see us needing a tackle, but for this year, I don't think we need it. So I feel like maybe we can punt that to a later round or particularly next year, because we don't necessarily need a stud to start right away at tackle, because we have Teron Armstead. We have, I trust Kendall Lamb. Both those guys might be retiring after the end of the season. Kendall Lamb is retiring at the end of the season. Teron Armstead might be too. But we have Austin Jackson on the right side. And, none of these guys have been particularly reliable to stay on the field for a full season. However, when they're there, they're solid. And there's 3 tackles there. So, and I trust this offensive staff to be able to put together a competent offensive line. And so I don't necessarily think that we need to go tackle first round particularly, but that being said, we also need some help at wide receiver. We need a wide receiver 3. I love Eric Ezukama. He hasn't really shown me anything in particular that can pop out, but also with that being said, wide receiver 3, we need someone that can step into that wide receiver 2 role within the next couple years, because we're not going to have both Waddle and Tyreek for much longer. One of them is going to go. I don't know if it's going to be Waddle. I don't know if it's going to be Tyreek. One of them is going to be going within the next couple years. It just a matter of fact, because you can't pay Tua, you can't pay Waddle, and you can't pay Tyreek all 3 at the same time. That's going to take up half your payroll, more than half your payroll on 3 players. Can't do it. That being said, we'll get to the summary. The summary, it's a lot of the same guys. So the most I've seen here is Byron Murphy II out of Texas. And, after losing Christian Wilkins in free agency, this could be a guy that could potentially replace him. With it being such an offensive heavy first round, potentially could possibly break the record for offensive players taken in the first round. A lot of the good, solid defensive players that would normally go 14 to 18 or even top 10 potentially could fall down to the 18 to 21 range, So Byron Murphy, probably last year or maybe next year, could potentially be a higher pick. But this year, because of how offensive heavy it is, he's going to be falling down. Same thing with Jackson Powers-Johnson. In most years, he's going top 15, but he's being mocked to us down at 21, because it's just receiver heavy, quarterback heavy. You're talking about there's potentially going to be 5 quarterbacks and 6 receivers taken in the first round. That's just how it is. It's absolutely insane. Another one I'm seeing a lot of is JC Latham out of Alabama. He's a tackle. Once again, I don't particularly think that we need a tackle. I think Jackson Powers Johnson could potentially be a really good pick there. He played both guard and center. And we don't really have a true center on roster because the center that we signed, yeah, he played center for a year with Tennessee or 2 years with Tennessee, but he came into the league as a guard. So that's not one I particularly like. I don't like that signing. It's just between you and me. Don't like that signing. Graham Barton out of Duke, a center slash guard. Once again, interior offensive line. I don't think it's a bad idea to go and draft this guy. Jerzon Newton out of Illinois, defensive tackle. Once again, addressing the defensive line. I love it. Because you need to. I particularly like drafting the idea of drafting a receiver first round, but defensive tackle is an absolute need that you can't be like, oh, well, we have this guy, he's just hurt. No, we just don't have anyone. We lost Raekwon Davis. We lost Christian Wilkins. We signed a bunch of good guys. Like, they're okay, but they're not starters. They're not going to sit there. They're the rotational guys. They're not Zach Steelers. They're not Christian Wilkins. They're not going to be one of these magnificent guys that are in the middle. Those are the guys that you draft. And so I don't mind drafting a defensive tackle in the first round. I really don't. There's also edge players like Gerard Verse and Latu out of UCLA. Verse and Latu are going all over the first round in these mock drafts. They're going from top 10 all the way down to the bottom 3 in the first round. So it's crazy how up and down. No one knows where these guys are going. No one knows who's better. Some people think Latu is better. Some people think Verse is better. Personally, I don't have an opinion. I'll take either one of them. And that's a position that you can argue, oh, well, we're just starting out the season without Chubb and Phillips, but, we don't really particularly need a stud or a star to replace them. And I can disagree. We saw last year you can never have enough edge players. Edge is one of the most, especially good edge players. They can make a difference. They're the second highest paid position in the NFL for a reason. Because they make the second biggest impact besides quarterback. It goes quarterback, then defensive end. I don't know how else I could say it. It's just that's just what it is. You're going to have, that's the second biggest impact. If you can have a stud there or two, yeah, we have two good players there. Phillips is a stud. Chubb has his moments. I would love to have another stud there. So I can't argue against the defensive end at that spot either. I also see a bunch of Xavier Worthies in here. And personally, my opinion on Xavier Worthy, I like him. I don't love him. I love Adonai Mitchell, and he's projected to go around the same time as our pick. So if he's there and Xavier Worthy's there, I'm taking Adonai Mitchell all day, every day. I don't think that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to fall to us. I would love for him to fall to us. Brian Thomas Jr. and Adonai Mitchell are my top 2 picks at this spot at 21. I don't mind defensive tackle. I don't mind defensive end. You can never have enough edge. You can never have enough depth on the line in the trenches. Doesn't matter what side it is on. And guys, honestly, it's a cluster. And with that being said, what should the Dolphins do in the first round? I think you just take the best player available. I think the best player available, doesn't matter the position, because you have so many positional needs. You need edge, you need defensive line, you need offensive line, you need maybe a little bit more depth at corner because you have a whole bunch of guys on 1-year contracts. Kendall Fuller's on a 2-year contract. I know a lot of people forget that we signed him. Ramsey only has 2 years left on his contract. After that, you have Cam Smith, who on his rookie deal only has 3 years left. Nick Needham's on a 1-year deal. I believe, I'm forgetting your name, but Kader Kohu. Kader Kohu only has 1 year left on his contract. So talking about a lot of guys in that cornerback room that don't have a lot of time left on their contracts and potentially need to be paid, potentially leaving, who knows. So even at corner, I wouldn't mind taking someone like Cooper DeJean or that guy out of Illinois. What's his name? I'm forgetting. Or Wiggins out of Clemson. Sorry, not Illinois. Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. I wouldn't mind taking someone like that, because once again, it's such an offensive heavy draft that those defensive guys that would normally go in the top 15 are dropping into the bottom 15 of the first round. And I would love to have someone like that. But once again, I don't know if my opinion and Mike McDaniel's head, we kind of have similar thought processes. I would love to think if Adonai Mitchell is there, he's probably going to be better than Waddle, and Waddle's a stud. Waddle has a little bit of injuries, last year, whatever. But look, he steps up when he needs to. And Adonai Mitchell's a 6'4" version of him that's faster, that has bigger hands, that's 6'4", smooth route running. I love it. So, personal opinion, take best player available. That's what the Dolphins should do. It doesn't matter the position, in my opinion. Obviously, if you had a choice between Jackson Powers-Johnson, Byron Murphy, and Adonai Mitchell, I'm probably going to go Adonai Mitchell, just because that difference maker on offense is just, like, you could put something together on defense and rotate guys in and out. I don't think you can replace a stud like Adonai Mitchell and have that obvious. That would be the best trio in the league. And I love Tank Dell, and I love Nico Collins, and I like Stephon Diggs. This would be the best trio in the league if that happens. All right, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think the Dolphins should do in the draft? What do you think they should address first? Do you think they should go by positional needs? Do you think they should go by best player available? Do you like my mentality of, look, best player available, because who knows what our biggest need is, because we have so many needs. Let me know in the comments below. Be on the lookout for my mock draft on Monday. I'm also going to be dropping a video tomorrow about should the Dolphins take a quarterback. Deuces.